Hello, everybody. So my name is Tim Tarabey. I work for Aera Energy. I'm the enterprise security architect. I've been with Aera for a little bit over 6 years now. I came from Canada, so I'm here 6 years. So um, I won't be talking much about security of Aera in general, or IPCS, or industrial control system, or SCADA. I'll be talking a little bit about security for IoT devices and the trends and stuff we're seeing in business environment versus ICS environments and manufacturing. Aera is an oil company. We operate only in in California. We're part owners of joint venture of Shell and ExxonMobil. Shell owns 51%, ExxonMobil 49%. We have our own board of directors, CEO, et cetera, et cetera. It's all governed by Aera. Like any other oil and gas company, we have IT, OT, we have industrial control systems as well, with all the controls, security controls, and business processes around it. So what we've seen so far is there are lots of challenges from a security perspective when it comes to securing system within the industrial control systems. And for Aera in the past, we were two separate groups. IT was a group, OT was on its own group. And recently we combined both groups together under one umbrella. It gives it more consistency, more harmony to get things done. So my colleagues talked about security by design. This is one area where everybody's kind of struggling with when it comes to IoT, which is Industrial Internet of Things. IoT came in, and go back to the question, what is IoT? It's nothing new. It's just a device out there that now is capable to talk outside your normal perimeter, going to the cloud or probably stays within your organization. The issue is that those devices start popping up. Everybody's getting those to get on board, but kind of no security in mind. So recently, and one of the trends happening these days that I could see is with the exponential growth of IoT devices, that pushes the business to change as well their processes so that it will accommodate those IoT devices. And that will probably increase customer performance, response time, etc. What we're getting out of those IoT devices, also there is the security piece of it. So they're going growth, but the security not in mind. The security of IoT devices is challenging now because businesses now start wanting to send data to the cloud for different reasons. It could be analytics, machine learning, AI, artificial intelligence, to get this data back. Now, the issue is that most organizations have some kind of segmentation within their networks. So the industrial control network doesn't allow going to the internet or to the business environment following the Purdue model. And there are lots of talk about the Purdue model that is kind of dead or it's kind of slowing down, which is true to a point. I wouldn't say it's dying, but definitely there is a challenges. And we have to revisit the Purdue model as a legacy from the old days, like 30 years ago. We have to be a business enabler. Security is dynamic. So we have to be flexible to accommodate the business. Technology is going out there. They're not gonna wait for us. Business is demanding those communication protocols. They want to have real-time data. They want the data now so that they could make real-time decisions. Those decisions are based on the integrity of that data. So the security model, the classic one is CIA, confidentiality, integrity, availability. From an operations perspective, it's availability, integrity, and then confidentiality. They want that data, and they won't wait for you unless there is really a huge risk with it or exposure. So that's why we have to be intelligent enough to allow the business to do what they want to do, enabling, and at the same time, secure or minimize the impact of those IoT devices. And that can be done in different ways. You could still keep your Purdue model or your segmentation model. That's fine. But you can create processes that will make those IoT devices do their job in a secure manner. It's not impossible. I'm doing my PhD in cybersecurity on IoT devices. And one of the research papers now are challenging the Purdue model, not in terms of doesn't apply anymore. It's now we have to allow communication going out and coming back in. Businesses are demanding that I want to be outside, could be somewhere in the world, that where I need to make a decision or I need to send a control command to that device. Can it be done? Depends on your risk appetite for that organization. Depends on your business, how risky it is, right? So all those factors needs to be taken into consideration. It's not as easy as black or white, yes or no. It'll never work that way. So another trend we're seeing these days is SaaS. Lots of organizations moving towards SaaS approach, and the reason is that it's easy, cost-effective, and it doesn't have much of security constraints. The reason is that I have an IoT device, I want to test it, how it works, how good is it to me. I don't need to deal with my IT people because it's going to cost time, money, resources, etc. I'll go have a SaaS solution, test it out, pilot. It works, then we'll move to the next phase. Now, the irony is they want to move to the next phase directly to production without going through the proper channel or going through their security framework, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of now a challenge. Yeah, it worked. We tested it with this SaaS solution. Now we're going to bring it to our organization where we have to abide by those rules, right? So this is a gap where the business and IT and OT should be talking. They all should be on the same page. Go ahead, test it. It works. Then, okay, those are the security or cybersecurity requirements that at least we need to meet. And if any of those, let's say, probably cannot be met, then it's another discussion. Are we going to allow it or don't allow it? But at least we should have those kind of reference architecture that everybody agrees to. If it fits within those requirements, then at least we could proceed and go test that device or IoT system. We're also seeing that industrial and commercial applications, they are driving the industry. It's not the consumers anymore. It's not the customer. We have those IoT devices, as I said, nothing special about IoT devices. They've been there for a while. What's good about them now is that we have all those softwares and applications that utilizes IoT to get all this data that can benefit the business in real-time data, real-time decisions. And that's what the business wants. So now, all those applications and software, they are driving the industry. It's not the consumer. Some people may say, well, you have more people, consumers and customers than applications. True. But where is the big dollars? Where is the big portion of that pie? It's the application and software and industries, right? So, and as I said, real-time data will keep growing. Real-time decisions will be demanded, and it's as important as any business process. Now, one thing that IoT devices now is challenging is the edge computing. So we have this IoT device. It's no longer like the traditional data center where I could get all my stuff, since the data center where we have storage. Well, these days, IoT devices here, and I have operator here, and decision makers here in this field. Let's say, for example, they'll get this data on the spot. Now, some of this data needs to stay there, and some may need to go to the cloud for analytics, AI, machine learning, that's fine. But some of this data needs to stay within the organization. You don't need to send all your data to the cloud unless there is a real reason for that. So you have to keep that in mind. Some stuff you need to keep inside. Some stuff you may need to send outside for analytics. They have better software, more people, specialized applications, and then you'll get the data back. That's fine. That's edge computing. Edge computing now is becoming the trend. Edge could be your field, could be your corporate perimeter, could be something, but you need to define what is that edge. Some people have said, okay, what is my data here, operator here? That's my network. Maybe works for that organization. Some people say no. It's the whole field versus the whole corporate. What is your parameter? What is your edge? And that's where you're going to define. Some of the concerns within IoT, my colleagues talked about regulations. We have lots of regulations these days from government, from private sector as well. For example, in California, we have the CCPA, which is for privacy and PII data. Adds a little more complexity to the situation. Security is another level of that. How are you going to protect this data? What constitutes a PII? I mean, the CCPA, it's really kind of similar to the GDPR, where an IP address is considered as PII combined with other data. So now comes up the challenge. If I want to send my stuff to the cloud, where is the cloud? You have to define that from legality perspective, contractual perspective. Is it going to be in California? Is it going to be within the states? It can't leave the states. And if it has to leave the state, there are special requirements for doing that. So all those things has to be wrapped up. It's not just the security piece of it as a challenge for IoT implementations. And the big question is, who owns the data? I bet if I ask most of you who owns the data for IoT in the cloud, probably going to say the end user, which is you. Okay, so I'll go with that. That's fine. But what if that vendor who's doing analytics and machine learning on your data analyzes the data, got a new algorithm, hey, I could do this, and based on this data, I'm going to create this product, a new enhanced product. Now, this new enhanced product was based on data he gathered from your company. Now, who owns that data? Who owns that product? Again, this is a big discussion. It's beyond this room, but it's one of the concerns that I kind of read about. That's who owns the data. And that needs to be defined. Plus, when you end your term or contract with that company, are you getting your data back? Do you need your data back? And if you're not, how are we going to make sure that it's being pursed properly? Again, it's still your data. You're liable for that data, especially if it contains PII or proprietary data for your company. So that's mainly about IoT. I have, and all I would like to emphasize on a couple of things, which is the edge computing, just to recap, and flexible architecture. We need to have that. I mean, you can't just have classic security model where I'm going to keep everything tied on. No, the bus is moving fast. You're either on the bus, you're off the bus, but you got to weigh your risks, your benefits, etc. I use the analogy, I don't want to build $1,000 fence or $10,000 fence to protect the $1,000 horse, right? But again, depends on how we apply that concept. I mean, your $1,000 horse, if it's gone, it may cost you $1 million in terms of regulations, liabilities, suits, etc. So each organization has its own requirements. There's no one size fits all. The only things you need to keep in mind is you need to define your security as flexible. You have that harmony, that connection between IT, OT. The business needs to understand the implications of security decisions. And you'll always find that. And I always did, even in my old jobs, you will be challenged by the business. Why can't do this? Person X or company X is doing it. Your CEO or CIO or CFO in a conference and his buddy tells him, oh, we did this. Comes back to you. Hey, they're doing that. Why don't we do that? You will be challenged. You better have a good answer. And at the same time, they need to understand the risks. You can't have risk-free environments. There are some risks that the organization needs to take. Those has to be documented, approved, and understood by your executives and the board of directors. Thank you.